The Texas Tribune has found that Cody Campbell donated $275,000 to Attorney General Ken Paxton's campaign to become Senator of Texas just one day before Paxton sent a threatening letter to the Big 12 on behalf of Brendan Sorsby that would claim legal action if the conference tried to punish, reprimand, or sanction Texas Tech for playing him. Let's talk about why we know this, how we found out this information, and what we can glean from Brendan Sorsby going from looking like a guy that actually might play football this season, even though he had bet on his own team and gambled over 10,000 times over 4 years after the bumper. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Did you know that Cody Campbell donated $275,000, or I should say $274,300 to Ken Paxton's fundraising campaign for U.S. Senate, according to campaign finance records that were newly uncovered by the Texas Tribune as they were filed to the Federal Election Committee on Wednesday. This news came out Wednesday evening, and it stems from an interest in us wanting to know why the Texas Attorney General decided to get involved with the NCAA, Texas Tech, and the Big 12. So Brendan Sorsby had perhaps allegedly, illegally made some bets, but certainly improperly made bets on sports, including his own team. The NCAA declared him permanently ineligible. A Texas judge decided to grant him an injunction that would allow him to play football. This would not have been good for the sport because we would have broken one of the core principles of the sport, which is if you bet on your own team, if you bet on sports that are anywhere near the sport that you're playing, you probably shouldn't be allowed to play football anymore. And we have seen the NCAA do this once before with Hunter Deckers, who lost his football career over a $15 bet, or about that much money, and was forced to go the JUCO route and has since become a professional playing quarterback in the UFL versus the New Orleans Saints. The news that Cody Campbell, who's the chairman of the Board of Regents at Texas Tech, donated this money to Ken Paxton the day before Paxton sent this letter that claimed that it would be unlawful for Texas Tech to, for the Big 12 to sanction Texas Tech because Brendan Sorsby would play, brings up this idea that Paxton would be able to sue the Big 12 for legal damages. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. The idea that you would have an attorney general going to bat for one university in its state that everybody is saying probably shouldn't be the university to back in this particular instance, and a player that is wrong and has admitted wrongdoing is fascinating enough. But what is more fascinating for our purposes is that Texas Tech's whole case and Brendan Sorsby's whole case was undone by Paxton sending this letter. And that part is really interesting. And it also means that it's less Ken Paxton sending this letter, and it's more Ken Paxton sending this letter after Cody Campbell had donated this $274,000. For those of you that are still unfamiliar with Cody Campbell, who kind of showed up for many people nationally a couple of years ago, right when name, image, and likeness became a thing, and it became clear that you could start to go, paying for players, said Campbell's a former Texas Tech lineman who donated $25 million to the athletic programs at Texas Tech and has been on the board since 2021 and its chair since 2025. And he has been very loud about what he thinks is a broken system in college sports, let alone college football. He also has been a major donor to GOP campaigns. Even in 2016, he gave $30,000 to Paxton state level campaigns. In this year's campaign, he is again giving quite a bit. June, his June 10th donation to Paxton Victory, one of Ken Paxton's joint fundraising committees, appears to be, this according to the Texas Tribune, one of the largest contributions over the years. Campbell also gave money to Donald Trump's Trump 47 Committee Inc., almost $700,000 to the president, $500,000 to MAGA Inc., which is President Donald Trump's principal super PAC. So he has not been shy about giving money to politicians that he believes should win the job, right? What's more interesting from a football standpoint is that if Texas Tech, or excuse me, if let me go at this one more time. What's more interesting about this is if Ken Paxton had not sent his letter, Brendan Sorsby might still play football. And that is the part that I thought was most interesting. So the Office of the Attorney General sent or said this in its letter: was informed that the Big 12 and Big 12 schools within the conference were considering sanctioning Texas Tech for honoring the temporary injunction order and continuing its support of Sorsby as a student athlete. This is June 11th. Soon after that, the Big 12 sued Paxton and Texas Tech and the Texas Tech University system and Chancellor Brandon Creighton and Texas Tech President Lawrence Chovanec and Athletic Director Kirby Hocutt, essentially taking the threat of a suit from the Attorney General of Texas and turn it into a reason to counter sue. Since then, we've seen Sorsby say, hey, I want to go into the supplemental draft, and the NFL going, nice try, but no. And it sounds like Sorsby's just going to try to prepare for the 2027 NFL draft rather than go the JUCO route, which is something he could do, assuming there's a JUCO team that would want him to play because the CFL closed its doors to him. But what's more, again, interesting for us about all of this is that there is no case for the Big 12 if Ken Paxton hasn't sent this letter. I mean, it literally ended up backfiring. The Paxton letter was a misstep of epic proportions, to say the least, because without that letter, there's no Big 12 lawsuit. And we get this from Justin Williams, who just won a co-beat writer of the year award for the FWAA, works at The Athletic. Really good job, really good work there. It turned into, oh, okay, you're threatening to sue us. How about we just sue you first? Especially as this letter that Paxton sent legally just acted as a service of process, which began this process, right? So you would want to take this to federal court and out of state court, where it feels like a judge is going to look at what the AG was at Texas was prepared to do and go, nah, I don't think so. And you had other AGs probably running for office who couldn't wait to throw in their lot with the Big 12, notably Oklahoma's AD, who is also in a runoff for the Republican nomination here for governor. All of this is interesting, right? But the federal lawsuit ended up being one lawyer just absolutely coming up with a way to just strike down your queen. I mean, it's not checkmate, but it's just a couple of moves from checkmate. You go from having, let's assume that for the purposes of this conversation, Texas Tech is playing white and Big 12 is playing black. Texas Tech having the opportunity to move first, giving it a tempo, right? This is having the football first, if you will. And they had been very good, along with Brendan Sorsby, about moving the pieces around the board and going with a gambit that looked like it was working, because you get to keep your tempo and you might lose a pawn, right? But you are also taking over most of the board and edging into your opponent's territory. all things you're supposed to do. And then this aggressive move to get Ken Paxton to threaten to sue, or I should say Ken Paxton just threatening to sue, ended up being a blunder of ridiculous proportions, man. It just opened up so much for the Big 12 with, again, a great legal strategy drafted by Sidley Austin. This part from The Athletic I think is important. Opinions on the lawsuit range from litigatory masterstroke to well-timed roadblock. Last week, it felt as if this is, I should give you the date on this story. The story was June 17th. This is just as we're talking about Brendan Sorsby going into the supplemental draft. So I will start again. And go straight to, rather than that masterstroke, what Tom Marr said of checkmate when he read this. He said, the Paxton letter was a misstep of epic proportions, to say the least, because without that letter, there is no Big 12 suit. Again, Justin Williams got this. Sources briefed on Texas Tech's and Sorsby's legal strategy pushed back on the impact of the Big 12 suit, arguing that it would eventually be ordered back to state court where the injunction rule was made. But at the very least, by filing in federal court and making a compelling argument, the Big 12 weaponized Sorsby's deadline to declare for the supplemental draft, because they knew this is something he wanted to do. He had been talking about it, and we'd also known that that was one of the only things that was left on the table that he could probably go do. This is one of those instances where, for the bigger picture, for the bigger conversation, you're seeing the lawyers are very much running college football. Even now, the athletic director at Michigan might be out of a job because lawyers did an investigation into his athletic department. Lawyers are also judges, right? The local judge has been the commissioner of our sport. I think the thing that I'm willing to agree with you on in all of this, and I think all of us could get to this, is we would very much like for the lawyers to have no reason to get involved in our business and in our sport. But that just doesn't seem like it's happening. What seems like it's happening is whoever can retain the best law firm, in this case, Big 12 having Sidley Austin, or Michigan tagging Jenner and Block in Chicago to go do its investigation, probably comes out winning. Or so you hope. Either way, learning that Cody Campbell donated $275,000 to Ken Paxton the day before Ken Paxton sent his letter, draw your own conclusion.